Good morning. I do think we face challenging times ahead. Over several years, the efficacy and the competence of the South African security agencies across the board, intelligence, police, military, have been declining. The best measure, for example, of police efficiency would be murder rates, because that reflects most accurately on crime trends, and then, of course, prosecution rates, because arresting people means nothing if they are not successfully brought to court. And South Africa is struggling, and we are struggling at a time when the social indicators, the pressures on violence, are increasing. I'm speaking of levels of unemployment, poverty, inequality. So normally your security agencies constrain and contain the pressures on that, but on top of poor management of our borders, a region that is more unstable now than it was a few years ago, because the economic decline that is associated with COVID means that governments in the region are all struggling. We are all struggling. So we face a concerning security environment in which we really need to look at getting more effectiveness, more capacity, more efficiency out of our intelligence, police, the military, and if you consider them part of the security cluster, which they should not be, home affairs and the judiciary. And we are struggling in all of these areas, and mostly because of poor management.
With the broad picture that you have just painted, Jakkie, and I'm glad you use both events here at home and neighboring countries like Mozambique. A simple question: do South Africans, having observed all of what is going on right now, should we have reason to feel safe in our homes, or are we very unsafe?
No, we have reason to be concerned, because the state is not effectively using the resources that it has to effectively. We can do better, and we should be doing better. South Africa is not a failed state, or we're not on our way to becoming a failed state. We have many, many challenges, but so have many other countries, including in the region. There's nobody in the region that would not rather stay in South Africa than in any of their countries, which is one of the, maybe except for Botswana, which is why we face a problem of, for example, inward undocumented migration. So it's a combination of a variety of things, but I think that what this all points to is the dire need to really get on top of the effective management of our security agencies to try and deal with these challenges.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on the issue of the Border Management Authority, because it is one that you have written about as well. Right now, you have political parties, whether you talk the EFF or the other one run by Gayton McKenzie, where they are on a mission to say South Africans need to be prioritized when it comes to work, particularly low-skilled to semi-skilled work. That kind of, or those kinds of actions that are taking place right now, talk us through whether you think the Border Management Authority that's been formed recently is the right way to tackle the issue of migration into South Africa.
Let's first deal with the political parties making hay out of foreigners. This is about party politics. It has nothing to do with foreigners. They want to stay in the news, and so they're looking for events that can keep them in the news. And unfortunately, you and I, who are part of the public personality, we fall for that every time. So Julius Malema goes and intimidates shopkeepers, and that gets in the news, despite the fact that what he's doing is patently illegal. And for the shopkeepers to respond to him is patently illegal in terms of South African law. So, second issue, you talk about the Border Management Agency. In my view, a complete waste of money. What we should be doing is we should be repurposing, particularly the Department of Defense, in their role and mission to look after our border security. We have the agencies. We spend more than 40 billion rand a year on the military. The military should not be preparing for some kind of conventional defense against somebody, Botswana or Swaziland, that's going to attack us. They should be preparing for contributions to making South Africa safer. And that is assuming a larger role in rural security inside South Africa, border security, and participation in peace missions. And those in the region, like in Mozambique. And those should become their primary function. Then you repurpose the military, for example, to perform a function that makes a real contribution to South Africa. And then when you look at the police, you can argue that apart from slimming its bloated bureaucracy down and getting rid of 3/4 of the 200 generals that they have, decentralizing and bringing efficiency and permanent and competent policemen and women who have come through the ranks that are on permanent appointment. Many of these things come down to simply better management. They're not... Yeah. And I always use the example of how the government, how SARS has turned around under competent leadership. After state capture, we can turn our security agencies around, but it needs real political vision and thinking. Because what we don't have in South Africa is we don't have a national security framework that says who is supposed to be responsible for what, and the most efficient allocation of resources to our existing security agencies. We keep on trying to come up with new solutions. Just look at what's happened with our infrastructure, the railways, because we disbanded the railway police. Now what the railways are doing, what PRASA is doing is they're hiring private security at great expense to come and look after the railway lines. The police should be doing it. We're just wasting money left, right, and center.
Yeah. Perhaps as we wrap our conversation, Jakkie, recently I had the opportunity to talk to the president, and I pointed to him, and I'm going to beg for your indulgence here. I pointed to him that we at the moment do not have a director general, at least a permanent one, at state security. We don't have both the domestic and foreign intelligence heads. You also have a police commissioner, national police commissioner, who's on tenterhooks, not knowing whether tomorrow he'll be told by the president to step aside while investigations against him continue regarding the matters that he faces in court. Again, it takes us back to the original question. Yes, Mondli Gungubele is now the political head of state security, but how safe are we as a country, particularly when you talk the intelligence sector?
Well, the Sydney Mufamadi report on the state of state security was damning. They were basically saying, in real terms, we should close it down and re-establish it from ground level up. That's how bad it was. None of us know what has happened in between, because one of the problems that we have is, particularly within state security, is everything is a secret, when 90% of it is not a secret. And they have been used, and they themselves are part of the factional battle within the ANC. So those examples and the questions that you raised with the president are absolutely perfect examples of the challenges that we face. Of course, our problem with regard to crime inside South Africa is not really an intelligence issue. It's much more of a crime detective, crime analysis issue, because there are many... Intelligence helps you to understand the nature of the threat, but you can't go and arrest somebody or take him to court based on intelligence. You need material that will stand up in court, and that is the job of the Hawks and NPA and the police.
Jakkie Cilliers, I thank you very much for your time and insights on this matter. It is a worrying one, the fact that you are not saying that we are safe, but we have reason to be concerned instead. He is the head of Africa Futures and Innovation at the Institute for Security Studies. Thanks indeed for your time.